Texas farmers weren't just fighting animals, they were fighting an army. A fast-breeding, land-destroying force 2.6 million strong. Bullets failed, bounties failed, traps failed. Until someone stopped hunting and started thinking, and what they built next shocked everyone.
And trappers in Brevard County are getting creative and finding new ways to catch them.
Subscribe now, because this story changes how wars are won. To understand why Texas hit a breaking point, you first have to understand the enemy. These weren't just pigs, they were invaders, a species that never belonged here, yet became the most destructive force in U.S. agriculture. Their rise began with two historic mistakes. In 1539, Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto brought domestic pigs to Florida as a food source. Some escaped and went feral. For centuries, their numbers stayed manageable. The second mistake came in the early 1900s, when wealthy landowners imported Eurasian wild boars from Europe for sport hunting. Bigger, more aggressive, and built to survive, these boars interbred with feral pigs, creating a hybrid super pig. Nowhere did it thrive more than Texas. Today, the state is ground zero, home to an estimated 2.6 million wild boars. Their population grows by 18 to 21% every year, expanding nearly 8 miles annually. What looks like a nuisance on paper is, in reality, a full-scale biological invasion. The real horror of wild boars isn't their size or tusks, it's how fast they reproduce. A female boar can start breeding at just 6 to 8 months old. Her pregnancy lasts 4 months, and she typically gives birth to 4 to 6 piglets, sometimes 10 or more when food is plentiful. Within a week of weaning them, she can become pregnant again, producing 2 full litters every year. Start with a single breeding pair, and under ideal conditions, they can create more than 20 offspring in 1 year. Those offspring begin breeding within 6 months, turning growth exponential, not linear. Even removing 100 boars means nothing if a few females survive. The population rebounds in under 2 years. This wasn't pest control. It was battling a biological system built to dominate. Wild boars don't just eat crops. They dismantle the land itself. Their most devastating weapon is their snout. Built from tough cartilage and powered by massive neck and shoulder muscles, it functions like a biological bulldozer blade. They use it in a behavior called rooting. The boar drives its snout into the soil and plows forward, ripping up earth in search of roots, grubs, and food. One boar can tear up 6 to 7 square feet of ground in a single minute. Now imagine a sounder, a family group of 20 to 30 animals, rooting for hours. Fields aren't damaged, they're obliterated. Fertile land becomes cratered wasteland. Farmers lose an estimated $118.8 million annually to wild boar damage in Texas alone. A single sounder can destroy $10,000 worth of crops in one night and return the next. Shockingly, only 5 to 10% of that damage comes from eating. The remaining 90% is pure destruction, trampling crops, shredding fences, destroying irrigation systems, creating erosion ditches. What they don't consume, they ruin beyond recovery. They aren't foragers, they're four-legged wrecking crews. Faced with the crisis, Texas did what seemed obvious. They unleashed the hunters. Wild boars could be hunted year-round, with no bag limits, day or night. On paper, it sounded perfect. In reality, it failed. Hunters chased trophies, targeting large tusked males, the animals that looked impressive but mattered least. Removing males barely slowed growth. One male could still impregnate countless females. The real drivers, breeding females and juveniles, were left behind. Hunters trimmed branches while the roots grew stronger. In Tennessee, hunting programs turned a small boar problem into a statewide invasion. In just 12 years, boars spread from a few counties to 70, accelerated by illegal relocations to create new hunting grounds. Bounties failed too. Cash rewards led to fraud, secret boar farming, and even feeding pigs to inflate numbers. Traditional box traps only made things worse, catching a few animals while teaching survivors to avoid traps forever. It wasn't control, it was a losing war. The breakthrough didn't start with new hardware, it started with a new mindset. The farmers who finally cracked the code stopped thinking like hunters. They stopped thinking like farmers. They started thinking like military strategists. This wasn't about catching animals. It was about defeating an intelligent, adaptive enemy that moved under cover of darkness. That required intelligence, patience, planning. And the first weapon in this new war wasn't a gun, it was a camera. Cellular trail cameras changed everything. Instead of walking their land and spooking boars with sound and scent, farmers could now observe remotely. Cameras sat silently on fence posts, watching day and night. Every triggered motion sent images directly to smartphones. For the first time, farmers had real-time intelligence. They mapped movement patterns, identified travel routes, counted sounders, learned feeding schedules. This wasn't guesswork, it was data-driven strategy. And the data revealed the core flaw in every previous method. Partial captures created survivors. Survivors became smarter. The solution was clear. You had to capture the entire sounder at once. Farmers abandoned small traps and built corral traps, massive circular or rectangular enclosures made from heavy steel panels, strong enough to hold 30, 40, even 50 boars at once. The gates stayed open. This wasn't a trap, it was a dining hall. The pre-baiting phase was psychological warfare. Corn and feed were scattered inside and outside the corral. For days, sometimes weeks, farmers did nothing but feed the boars. Fear faded, routine formed. The corral became normal, safe, predictable. Farmers weren't trapping anymore, they were running restaurants. The final evolution was removing the trigger from the boar entirely. Instead of tripwires or pressure plates, gates were controlled remotely. Cellular cameras provided live video feeds. The farmer watched from anywhere. They waited, they counted. They resisted acting too soon. Only when every single boar in the sounder was inside did they press the button. The gate dropped instantly. No gunshot, no human presence. From the boar's perspective, capture was incomprehensible. Entire bloodlines were erased in a single silent moment. No survivors, no lessons learned, no future trap-smart generations. The war changed forever. One trap wasn't enough. Boars ignored property lines. Farmers began coordinating. Text groups, alerts, shared intelligence. Sounders were intercepted across multiple properties simultaneously. The trap became the spear. The network became the shield. Helicopters, thermal scopes, K9 units supported cleanup operations. Intelligence led. Strategy followed. This wasn't extermination, it was management. Captured boars entered regulated pipelines, USDA inspections, approved processors, niche markets. The invaders became a controlled resource, not a silver bullet, but a reframed problem. Damage dropped dramatically. Farmers hit the critical 66% annual removal rate needed for population stability. Losses fell from tens of thousands to manageable levels. The war isn't over, but it's no longer unwinnable. Remote-triggered traps capture up to 88% of targeted sounders in a single event. Traditional methods never came close. Texas didn't win with bigger guns, they won with data, patience, coordination, and one perfectly timed button.